Married at First Sight, season 16, episode 18. These couples are crawling across the finish line with their marriages held together with some scotch tape, a tree branch, and a party mint. Child, I've never seen so many people be encouraged to simply just settle, put their wants and needs to the side, than this group right here. Hi, I'm Tamara, and this is Tamara Lynette Tells. Let's just hop right in. Orgy, aka Airris, and Jasmine. This scene right here where Orgy is telling Jasmine that he needs her to keep speaking up because that's when she's at her best. When he asked her, "Is there anything I can do?" Yes, leave and never come back. Stop leading the girl on. You're not ready. But instead, she said something about continuing to create a safe space for her to feel comfortable being open. Okay, Jasmine, please just use this so-called relationship to help you be better in the next one, because I guarantee you that you can open any dating app and swipe your way to a better one. Then he said he wouldn't have a problem if she initiated a hand grab or something. You're the one who took physical contact off the table. Why does she have to be the one to bring it back? Do you also expect her to open doors for you and pull out your chair? I mean, what's in it for her other than your constant enthusiasm, of course? So, since Orgy can't be out in them streets right now, producers decided to bring the streets to him and put his wife on a pole. What in the women's lib is going on here? Don't get me wrong, I have no problem with pole dancers, pole dancing classes, strippers, or anything in between. But in a situation like this where the husband isn't attracted to the wife and prefers the stripper scene, pulling Jasmine down to his level by slapping her on a pole as a way to test if his disco stick comes to life felt desperate. On Afterparty, Jasmine said she didn't know he was going to show up. So that was the work of producers. Last-ditch effort to try to force an attraction where there is none. This man is not attracted to her, and even if he was, he's not ready to be with someone for 3 dates in a row, let alone a marriage. So since throwing Jasmine on the pole didn't work, the experts decided to give them a sexy goodie bag with handcuffs, feather mask, and stuff like that. Who do I need to talk to in order to not see Jasmine rub, tickle, or slather Palmer's cocoa butter on Orgy's feet and ankles? I could just feel how uncomfortable Jasmine was in this scene. He's asking her to slap him in the face. On Afterparty, she said she didn't want to go all out on the slap because she was afraid the frustration from what he put her through these last 2 months would bubble up and whammo, she might slap him too hard. Girl, not only would he have liked that, but he deserved it. Okay, but what about when Orgy told her that the feather would feel good on his gooch? Well, first of all, I had to Google what a gooch is. Buckle up. A gooch is slang for the patch of skin between the genitals and the anus. Yeah, he went there. Jasmine was so embarrassed, she bowed her head down and looked at one of the producers directly in the face with nervous laughter. Yeah, girl, this is a man you're fighting for. Think about it. Later, they went to a medium in somebody's great-great-grandmother's house. Whose dining room is that? Got the curio cabinets with the Corel unbreakable plates on display. Anyway, she had them both sign their names. Then she proceeded to give them a reading. Now, one of the tips she gave Jasmine is that she needs to be patient because Orgy is still maturing. Child, this man is 40 years old. At the rate he's going, he's not going to be mature until he's in his 60s, and nobody's got time for that. Everything this woman was saying sounded on point, but unfortunately, they didn't introduce this medium, psychic, clairvoyant person in a way that gave her credibility. So for me, it felt like this could have been a hired actress or somebody's cousin to basically tell them what the experts should have said. Kind of like how they have the so-called viewer questions on Afterparty, even though Afterparty was filmed way before the episodes aired. Speaking of Afterparty, on Afterparty, Orgy said the medium was on point with some things that Jasmine only told a few people. The only thing is, he wasn't clear on whether one of those few people was a producer or not. So this scene was kind of a wash for me. My opinion of this couple hasn't changed. Orgy never should have been cast on the show, and I just hope they both come out of this better people, but single. Kirsten and Shaq, this is just an odd couple to watch. Neither one of them are fulfilling the other one's needs, and all they do is complain about it. Kirsten's big mistake was how she handled herself when they first met and made it crystal clear she wasn't attracted to him. Then she went from not wanting Shaq to touch her or kiss her to expecting him to pursue her and buy her a house, where Shaq went from being super patient and wanting her to find him attractive to being bitter and fussy. When it comes to her family and then not making time to hang out with her and Shaq, Kirsten finally came home and said, "My mom and brother are gonna come over for dinner." And he said, "That's dope," but then just dug in. "I'm just trying to figure out why they haven't come up to now. People make time for what's important to them. Is it me? Like, is it you? Is it because they don't know if we gonna make it? I'm just trying to figure out what the problem is." To the confessional cam, he said, "It's weird that she supposedly has been asking them to stop by, but they haven't. Does her family just not support her?" Dang, Judgy McJudgerson. I mean, if they don't support her, you rubbing it in, complaining about it, and questioning it doesn't support her either. On Afterparty, Kirsten indicated that her family doesn't want to be on camera, especially her father. But she said that Shaq takes everything personally. This is exactly what it sounds like he's doing. "Everything isn't always about you, Shaq. It's about me." So while they're having this conversation, Kirsten finally decided to tell him that sometimes she's not sure if he even likes her, because when he comes home, he doesn't appear to be happy to be there. Then they showed clips of Shaq coming home in a funky mood. In one of them, Kirsten was being very nice and asked if he wanted her to make him broccoli and salmon, and he said, "I'm fine," and then walked out. On Afterparty, Kirsten said his mood when he comes home is very much affected by what happened that day at school or his mentoring program or work. Child, if your work puts you that much in a funk, I wouldn't want to go on your work trips either. So later, they got all dressed up to go to church, talking about they want to have faith in their life. I was thinking, okay, this is going to be interesting to see how they do in church service together. Wondering what type of sermon they going to listen to. See their little facial expressions. Child, they got all dolled up just to sit in an empty church and have a conversation. Whose idea was this? This made absolutely no sense to me. I understand that reality TV isn't real, but how many times in your life have you gotten dressed up, put on a full face of makeup or shaved and lined up your beard, drove all the way to church in order to have a conversation with your spouse in an empty sanctuary? I mean, like no preacher, rabbi, priest, or whomever in sight. I couldn't even tell you what they were talking about because I was so distracted by how silly this was. How is this putting faith in their marriage? I'm so confused. Anyway, when it came time for the family gathering, Kirsten's brother couldn't make it because he had to work. So that meant only her mom was coming. And of course, Shaq was as understanding as a traffic court judge. He keeps calling her situation weird. This is weird. It's just weird. Now, he did admit to her mom that in the beginning, he could see that Kirsten had her walls up and offered to bring them down for her. And as hers came down, he's realizing that he used her bricks to build a wall for himself. No, you put that wall up after she didn't go with you on your Memphis trip. You checked right on out during that incident. Even on Afterparty, Kirsten mentioned that he seems to be holding that over her head still. So while her mama was giving them some good advice about letting go of expectations, let the walls down, enjoy each other, I thought their body language was very interesting. Kirsten was nodding and sitting there with her arms crossed, kind of smirking, but open and receptive to what her mom was saying, whereas Shaq was sitting there looking sad with his arms wrapped so far around his stomach that it looks like he was giving himself a hug. Like he was thinking, I liked it better when you were too busy to come over here. I want my mama because she'll take my side and cuss Kirsten out. Even though Kirsten messed up their energy from the get-go, if she hadn't responded to him that way and was more positive, I don't believe they have the right chemistry to have a successful friendship, let alone a marriage. Anyway, the longer these two stay together, the more sad they're gonna make each other. Just go on and fast forward to decision day so they can say no. Gina and Chuck Norris, aka Clint. First of all, the best match of this season, of the last two seasons, is Chuck Norris and Gina's dog, Hank. Hands down, I love Chuck's relationship with that dog. I have no doubt he's gonna miss Hank more than Gina when all of this is over. So after 8 years of not allowing another person to cut his hair, Chuck finally got the haircut that I talked about weeks ago. It just seems like he got a slight trim with a bunch of Let's Jam hair gel slathered all over it. He kind of looked like Alaskan bush people to me. Their meeting with Pastor Cal and Dr. Pepper was very interesting. First of all, I don't recall a time when they sent 2 experts for one couple. Producers let this marriage go so far off the rails that they had to throw the entire psychological sink at them. So when it comes to Gina not being able to muster up enough attraction towards Chuck, she threw him deep under the Greyhound bus with a one-way ticket. She called him crass, outrageous, wild, life of the party with bizarre energy, and said, "I know this sounds bad, but he gives me the feeling of secondhand embarrassment. Life of the party is not someone I'm attracted to." First of all, that was rude. Once again, Miss He's a Ginger did not pick her words nicely. But secondly, I feel like Gina is worried about what other people think, and by others, I mean her gal pals at the salon. If he's making her laugh in a way that's not hurting anybody or getting them kicked out of restaurants, why is she embarrassed? Girl, you only live once. I'd much rather be with someone who makes me laugh to the point of embarrassment than someone who calls me ginger, crass, outrageous, with bizarre energy. Then, when she was carrying on about never feeling like a wife, I was waiting for anyone to ask her if she's ever behaved like one. Instead, they followed her logic and kept asking what Chuck could have done to make her feel like a wife. No, ask her what could she have done to get him to see her as a wife. Then she said, "I never felt the act of him pursuing me whatsoever." Now, that sounds weird to me. You said yes to marriage on day 1. What's left to pursue? He got you, boo. You took pursuit off the table when you said "I do." Poor Chuck was so blindsided. To the confessional cam, he was like, "Why did all of this just come up? I'll take onus that I did not behave like a husband, but to sideline me?" And keep in mind that she said that she goes into Chuck's bedroom regularly at night and they have long conversations. So it's not like they don't talk. I'm quite sure he felt backstabbed. On Afterparty, she said that she'd been thinking about, like, what is it? Why can't I get there? And it was basically the revelation she had, but it was kind of coming up in that moment with the experts, I suppose, which is reason number 3,437 that they need to reinsert the experts back into the show regularly. Maybe they could have addressed this weeks ago and fixed it. When will the producers realize that part of the reason many of us hopped on this Married at First Sight bandwagon was because they appeared to give these couples the tools to work through their issues, the main tool being the experts, even though it is entertaining to watch the drama unfold in the meantime. Anyway, it looks like they're trying to give Mackinley more face time, like maybe they're setting us up for the previews they keep showing us about him slipping into Gina's DMs. So they dusted him off to have a chat with Chuck, of all people, like letting us know that Chuck and Mac are allegedly friends, to show us that Mac slipped in his friend's wife's DM when the time comes to air that scene. Anywho, Mac said he's back on the dating scene, and Chuck is talking about seeing potential for he and Gina. Meanwhile, Mac's telling the confessional cam that he wishes he would have been matched with Gina instead of Dom. Dude, you would have taken anything that moved instead of Dom. Blah, blah, blah. This really wasn't a noteworthy conversation. Nicole and Chris, these two seem to be doing just fine. Of course, producers like them to focus on the negative, so Nicole brought up for the 46th time about them not having a place to live together after decision day. Producers literally have her bring this up every couple of hours or so. Like, maybe in the moment of filming the show, this felt like a big deal that needed to be discussed every 120 minutes, but it's really a nothing sandwich. If they truly plan to move in together, they'll work it out, but they don't have time right now between their jobs and shooting this show. In the meantime, they decided to drop their safe word, pineapple. At first, I thought they dropped it because, like Chris said, he didn't feel like he needed it. But after they agreed to drop it, Chris practically ran in the living room and started removing all the pineapples. Like, we don't need the code word or your tacky pineapples everywhere. Get this crap out of our house. I was like, oh, that's why he wanted to drop her safe word, to be able to trash her pina colada decor. So they had Chris meet with his brother and Nicole meet with her dad to discuss what they're going to say on decision day, even though all they've been talking about is what they're going to do together after decision day. So this was boring. This season definitely demonstrates how important it is to try to match people who really have a shot to make it and not be so concerned about ratings or casting for drama, because the basis of the show itself sets them up for drama. But by ignoring preferences like looks, politics, financial situations, and things that are deal breakers, they end up matching people who are not compatible and then have to force storylines and almost turn these people into actors because they are pretending to work on these marriages when they really aren't. Well, that's all I got for now. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in my next video.